Hey, how are
How
you?
you doing? I'm good. How you
Good,
doing?
good. It's been so long. I know.
It has been. This is gonna be a great way to catch up too.
I know.
And
It's
you
true.
glowing, your skin look healthy. You've been drinking a lot of water.
Doing my best. How have
Yeah,
you been?
I could not complain. I'm blessed. I'm blessed. I'm happy to be here with you today. Also,
I
being
know.
able to catch up with you.
I know. It's been so long. It feels weird.
No, I know. Especially being seeing you on social media. You've been not only have you been blowing up, but you definitely been like spreading a lot of positivity when it comes to traveling, giving a
I'm
lot of
trying.
game and content.
I'm trying.
Where you at now?
But what happened?
Where you at
So,
now?
I am at my cousin's place. I'm in the Bay Area.
Also, you back in the States.
Yeah, I just got back like 2 months ago, but I've just been rejuvenating.
For those who don't know, this is Elshu.
Yeah.
Been to over 10,000 countries. She's been to every country on this planet besides North Korea. And
You're
she gonna
right
be
about
with us
that.
today, spreading some game.
Yes.
Time we seen each other was 2021 in Egypt
Mm-hmm.
on the Red Sea.
Yes. It
I
was
never been able to share this with you, but I remember the first time I saw you because I was on the bus. That
okay.
being picked us up.
Yeah.
I remember you. Because I didn't know the bus was gonna be making these stops.
Uh-huh.
And picking people up, and I remember you, and remember if it was like your sisters or something like that, or your
Yeah.
relatives. Yeah, I remember y'all. I remember seeing y'all, and then y'all getting in the van with us, and yeah, that was one hell of a day.
Yes. I was shook too. There aren't that many people in Egypt, so I was like, what?
Mhm.
Another one of us. It's
Yeah,
great.
yeah. That was a time to remember. How many countries have you been to overall?
Not that many actually. I think last I counted, it was 33 countries.
Not that many.
It's not that many. I stay in one country for like over a month, so I'm not really counting countries. I'm just doing my best to see as much as I can in like one destination at a time, if that makes sense.
It does, but 33 countries is a lot, whole lot.
Really?
Yeah,
I have
yeah.
been on the road for almost 2 years. I feel like you can see a lot more if you truly put your mind and heart into it.
So what motivated you to start traveling solo in the first place?
Well, like so I when I went to school, when I was in undergraduate school, majority of my friends were like pre-med, pre-den, and they were taking different career paths in life. So I didn't really have anyone I can travel with, but I knew that I really enjoyed traveling and that's what I want to pursue. But there was really no one to go with me, and so I went on a trip with my cousin to Mexico, and I really enjoyed it, and I wanted to see if I could do it alone. So I took my first solo trip in 2019. I went to Ecuador and Colombia, and I really enjoyed it. And I was like, "Wow, I can really do this. I don't really have to wait for people to go out there and see and explore the world." So like that really gave me the confidence that I can really do this solo, and that is how I was able to quit my job and roam around the world.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Your homeland is it Ethiopia or Eritrea? Which I want to
It's
get it wrong.
Ethiopia. I was born
Okay.
and raised in Ethiopia, yeah.
Oh, so you was born and raised in Ethiopia, that you
And
came
then when
to.
I was like, yes, so when I was 17, I moved over to the US, and I've been here ever since. I've been in the Bay Area since 20, when did I move here? 2012? Yeah.
I
So,
gotta structure this conversation. I gotta be organized because I want to ask you so many questions, but I don't want to. I
of
know
course,
people's attention span is like I don't want to overwhelm the viewers with questions because I got a lot. I mean, especially about the motherlands. Um, on your Instagram, you emphasized traveling on a budget.
Hmm. Hmm.
How were you able to do that? I think that's the key that we all want to know.
Yes. So, well, I studied finance. I'm really good with my money, and I really know how to stretch a dollar. My hobby is actually reading travel blogs. I read lots and lots of travel blogs. So I think I was able to educate myself, and I was able to see how other people travel, and you don't really have to spend a lot of money to have an authentic experience. And the thing is, I also didn't have a lot of money saved. So I knew if I really wanted to stretch my money and see a lot, then I would need to travel on a budget. So that is why I started doing my research and trying to see if there are like alternatives, if there a cheaper way to eat, is there a cheaper way to look for accommodation. And after I got enough research, then I was able to come up with a plan. And it's really feasible to travel the world on a that is your priority. But if you prioritize having like a really fancy hotel, if you prioritize eating, like a five-course meal, then that's not going to be feasible for you. But if you truly value experiences over material possessions, then it's honestly not that difficult to travel, on a budget. Also, like I said, I was born and raised in Ethiopia, and we didn't really have a lot of money growing up. So like for me, at least for me, like I could care less about a lot of like I don't know if I can call them privileged or like a lot of things you're used to in the Western world. Like I could care less if I'm sleeping at a hostel bed. I could care less if things are a bit not as fancy as people in the Western world would like them to be. So I think it's also mindset change for me. Like I've seen worse, so I don't really value those things. I value experiences, so I'm able to put my money where it matters, if that makes sense.
It makes a whole lot of sense, which opens the door for a lot more questions.
Hmm. Well, I pack per destination usually. Like I first thing first is the weather. Like I look at the weather and then see what items I would need for that weather. And I also look at possible activities I'll be doing and I'll pack for that. And I have an emergency list. I have a packing list that I use for most of my trips. But when I go on extent like the trip that I just came back to, I was gone for 2 years. And for that kind of trip, it's really difficult to really pack for one climate because you're going to be visiting a lot of places. So for that kind of trip, I think I'll just pack the essentials and everything else I need. I'll just buy it on the go, if that makes
Like,
sense.
yeah, is it do you carry is it like you got a carry on in a backpack, or do you got any bags that you put under the plane?
So I started, as you know, like I have lots of hair products that I needed. So I had to have a checked in luggage. So that's what I was using for the first half of my trip. I had a checked in luggage and then I have a small backpack for like day trips.
Oh,
And halfway through, I realized that's not really ideal because my luggage was falling apart. Like I was dragging it everywhere and it went through a lot and it fell apart by the time I hit Brazil and South America. So, and before I hit Southeast Asia, I had like a quick layover at home and I switched it off for a backpack. And that has been more ideal in my case. I think
right.
the best combo might be instead of like a checked in luggage, a carry on and a backpack that might work better. That way, like you don't have a lot of items to be dragging on. So I guess a carry on can survive a bit more than a whole checked in luggage. And then a backpack, you always need it, for day trips, for
Yeah.
trucks, for everything. So yeah, that works.
I think when it comes to the traveling on the budget, I think the part that's people gonna try to get around their mind is the flights. Like, how do you do that? Because you've been to 33 countries. I mean, that sounds like $30,000 to us.
Okay, so here's my biggest my biggest tip would be to avoid flights. I know that sounds crazy to say, but if you have the time, if you have the luxury of time, I think traveling one region at a time is the best way to go because like think of it this way, like I know it's a privilege, but if I wanted to visit Peru and then Brazil, if I was to fly from here to Peru and then come back, that's like $500 round trip ticket. And
Right.
then I want to go to Brazil, another $700 round ticket. And then I want to go to Patagonia, that's another, route. So like you're gonna end up spending a lot of money on transportation. But if you have the time to be doing one region at a time, then that really solves majority of your problems. Because what I did was like I flew over to Ecuador, and then from Ecuador, then I took a bus to Peru, and then from Peru, I took another bus to Bolivia. From Bolivia, another bus down to Argentina, then another bus to Chile, until like all the very first flight that I took was actually in Chile, because Chile was just so long and it's almost impossible to do it by road. But other than that, like I barely flew. I was just taking public transportation, like, overnight buses. And when you travel that way, you really get to save a lot of money on flights. It's just boom, like a $20 bus, a $20 bus, a $20 bus. So and then you can check off the whole region at a time. And then I went to Southeast Asia, did the same thing. And then you go to another region, you do the same thing. And when you are already in that region, it's also really cheap to go from a country to another. When I was in the Philippines, I wanted to go to Singapore, and it was a $30 flight. And then from Singapore, like I can just take a bus up to Malaysia. And from Malaysia, again, another bus up to Thailand. And then from Thailand, I flew to Cambodia, but it was $20. So it's really cheap and convenient to travel one region at a time instead of flying across the world for one country and then another country. And I think I just have the privilege of time, and that's how that's how I have been able to afford flights, if that makes sense. But also, like, I know my budget, and I only travel to countries that I can afford. That's also really key. If if you know that you don't have a lot of money, but you want to go to Italy and France, then that's not going to work. You're going to blow your bank, and then your trip is not going to be longer than 10 days. But then with that same amount of money, you can go to a country like Bolivia or Laos, and that will last you a whole 2-3 months. So like I think I pick my destinations very carefully. Like I don't go to places I can't afford. And if I go to those places, for example, I went to Japan and it was a bit more pricier than other destinations, but I didn't spend as long of the time. Like like I just only spent 3 weeks and then I left, because I knew that if I stay longer, then I can't go to the other place that I want to go to. So it's just compromising and finding that, middle ground of.
I definitely understand that feeling for sure. I've traveled to places that I've liked so much, but I was ready to go because I'm like, it's gonna break me.
Exactly.
So I
Exactly.
feel, so you really traveled this planet, land, sea, train,
Yes.
bus. So you've seen it, like you've been able to see these countries in and out.
I would like to believe so. Yes, I did my best to, travel the ways the locals do, so I can save money and also like really meet people where they're at. Like I think my focus is culture. I really, really enjoy culture. I really, really enjoy learning more about other different ways of life. That's the main reason why I travel. And if I want to do that, then I need to meet the locals where they're at. I can't be experiencing people's cultures at a 5-star resort, all like inclusive, and I don't, I'm not gonna leave that. If I don't leave that resort, then what exactly did I see in that country other than that resort? So again, for me, like budget travel also really puts you out there, and it helps you experience like a more authentic, I would say a more authentic, I don't know how to say it, but you know what I mean.
I feel like everyone that's listening does too. Yeah, what is the biggest misconception about solo travel, especially like as a female?
I think the biggest misconception about solo travel is that you're actually solo. I have been on the road for almost 2 years now, and I can count the days I was truly, truly solo, because you meet people as you go. You go on a free walking tour, you meet people. You go to a hostel, you meet people. Like wherever you go, if you are open to meeting people, you're gonna meet people. So you're technically traveling with people you have yet to meet. You're not necessarily solo. If you truly want to be solo, you actually have to put in that effort to truly have that time alone, because wherever you go, people are going to strike a conversation and you're going to be hanging out with strangers, and then they're soon going to be turned into friends, and like that's that's how solo travel has been for me. Like I actually have to intentionally make time for myself, or else I'm always surrounded by people. If that makes
Those times you had to yourself, what has it done for you? Like how has it helped you?
one, it has helped me. Well, even though like like I meet people on the go, I think the main aspect of solo travel is you having 100% of a say in what you want to do and where you want to go, right? Like when I'm traveling with people, I usually tend to compromise. What does this individual like? What does that individual like? And then you come into a middle ground of this is an activity we all will be doing. This is where we will be staying. But when you're traveling solo, then you have 100% control of whatever it is that you want to do. And I think that has really helped me understand like what I truly enjoy and what I truly like, what activities I truly enjoy. And like, I personally, for example, really like uh like things like scuba diving or snorkeling. I enjoy them, but I don't really like a yacht party. But I used to do them because my,
We snorkel together.
yes,
We snorkel
exactly.
together.
I
And I love
but
it too.
yes, and I
Yeah.
really enjoyed those activities, but I used to go on different kind of yacht parties or this or that with friends or with family because that's what everyone else did. But now that I'm traveling solo, I realize that I have control over everything I want to do. I don't have to go out and party every night if that's not what I enjoy. So I think it has helped me understand my interests and things like that I personally value because now that I have to sit down and I actually have to plan things and I have to understand what it is that actually brings me joy, if that makes sense.
It makes a whole lot of sense. Makes a whole lot of sense. And I'm glad that you sharing it the way you is because there's a lot of like so for this channel, my goal was to talk to solo travelers to encourage other people that who wants to travel.
Mhm.
If it's solo or whether if it's with a group. The goal is to encourage those to buy their ticket because I know a lot of people are hesitant to purchase their ticket, especially females. Many women that I've spoken to, they're like, I'm not trying to do that because I'm a female.
Mhm.
Just feel like that's what I'm saying, that's a stumbling block um to a lot of opportunities. Also opportunities in the healing, for me myself, I've traveled, I've been by myself, and I've definitely had those alone times, and I've gained some motivation, and I've been inspired to do things out of my comfort zone. When I
Mhm.
got back home, learned a lot. It I will also say, it made me even more focused.
Mhm.
Being able to see the world by myself without, I'm saying, the Western world and the distractions that come with it. So, I really do appreciate you sharing all that. What has been some of your challenges as a female solo traveler?
Well, the first aspect is being solo. Like, there in society there are lots of things that are considered a taboo to do alone, like going to a restaurant alone, hiking alone. Those were not things I was used to doing prior to solo travel, and I have to come in terms with, and I have to get to a point where I'm comfortable doing those things alone. And even again, it was pushing me out of my comfort zone. While like I enjoy that, but at the same time, it can also be exhausting at times because you're 100% responsible for everything that goes on in the trip. When I
Yeah.
travel with other people, you delegate different tasks to different people. Like, let's say I plan the trip, then someone else would be in charge of booking hotels, and someone else would be in charge of looking for places to eat. But when you're traveling solo, you are 100% responsible for everything that goes on. And while that is exciting, it can also get really exhausting because every single meal you have to look and search and find a place to, like it's just lots and lots and lots of research that can be really exhausting. Another aspect is just always being on the move, like 2 days here, 2 days there, another 2 days there. You have to be packing and unpacking constantly, and you always have to have your guards up because you're a woman and the world can be so unsafe at times, and especially as a black woman, the thing is like people don't really view us as delicate and as like, oh, this girl needs help. They view us as strong black women. So you don't really get that grace that other solo travelers who have different skin colors than us get. So that can really at times be exhausting because people view you as someone so strong and resilient. And sometimes you want that help, but you don't really receive it. And it can be exhausting. It's just, yeah, like mentally, physically, it can be a really exhausting thing. So it is really important. Like for me, at least, I actually schedule rest days. And after like a month or two of constant travel, then I spend a week or two in one place to rejuvenate and take a break from that constant go, 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 go. So I can give my time, the proper, rest that my body and my mind needs because it can just be so exhausting.
You said a couple things, but one that I definitely want to ask you about: what countries have you felt that way in, as far as being a black woman? Because I got a few countries,
Okay.
but I want to know, do we share the same?
Um, well, it depends. I will say India was one of those countries where it was constantly reminded that I was a black woman. And it
Uh-huh.
was also like mind blowing because the people there, like majority of them, at least in my experience, looked like me and
Exactly.
walked and talked like me. So I didn't really expect people to view me differently. And I think it could be my hair and my braid. I think that is the conclusion I came up with because people really truly made you feel like you're a foreigner. And that's okay, like because I am a tourist, I'm a foreigner, but at times it makes you feel very visible, if that makes sense.
Right. What would be the other one?
Um, I have to think. Give me a second. I think that's I mean, I will say Japan, Korea was around there too, but like I didn't really feel I, it was
Those
not a
spots,
negative
I
feelings.
heard
It's
those
just
spots is cool. Yeah, I heard those spots is cool. I thought you was gonna say Turkey.
yes, yes. I forgot about that. Yes, Turkey.
I heard. Yeah, Turkey. Hey, yeah, I got stories on Turkey. I got a whole video on Turkey, and I had to talk about it. I ain't even want to do them like that, but it was this last time I went. I was like, you know what? I think this gotta, you know what I'm saying? Like, I give you a short one. I was in the airport, and this is a minor one. I was in
Okay.
the airport, and I was legit lost. And I've been to this airport several times, but I guess I was maybe in another terminal, and I could not find the counter that I was supposed to go to. And I went up to a guy and asked him if he could help me, and he legit looked at me, said something in another language, and just kept walking. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I feel like that's minor compared to all the other stories I got. But yeah.
So I have a similar story. When I was in Jordan, I had my hair was an afro, but on my passport picture it was braided down. And as soon as I got to customs, the guy looked at me dead in the eye and said, "That's not you." And I was like, "That is me." And he was like, "No, that's a different person. That's not you." So he had to call a supervisor. The supervisor looked. He also claimed that's not me. They had to call over another supervisor. And by the third person, I was allowed into the country. They just could not comprehend that my hair was just so different. So I'm not even the same person. It took like a good 20 minutes. My cousin was waiting for me. I was literally held for having a different hairstyle. It was interesting.
Man, I got so many words, but that's what
It is what it is. Honestly.
it is. It is. But Turkey is that, and you know what? What sucks about that is because Turkey actually got a lot of great places to visit.
Hmm.
I think Turkey is a beautiful country. I love Istanbul, but man, I got some ugly vibes out there before. Um, but as far as cause you've been to Turkey, you've been to where the balloons and stuff, huh?
Yes, Cappadocia, it was really beautiful. But I also think when it comes to Turkey, I think they're a bit more, they feel some type of way about black men more than black women, I've heard. because
I
I guess a lot of people from African origin are coming to Turkey and marrying Turkish women, and the people feel very strongly about that. Yeah.
I got a story about that too. Y'all gonna have to subscribe to the channel to see what that's about though. Um, what is the most unexpected destination that you fell in love with? Like,
That's easy. Laos. Could not could not believe it.
wow.
Laos. You
You know,
need
that's
to
right
go
next
and
door
see
to
it
this
for
is next
yourself.
door to Thailand. People was telling me to go.
I will say Laos is what I thought Thailand was gonna be like, but wasn't.
Why? What was so amazing about Laos?
It was so beautiful, just a lot to do. The nature is so beautiful, and yet it was untouched to a lot of extent, untouched. There are tourists, but it was not like it was not overwhelming. And majority of people you meet there are backpackers, so the vibes were like very, very like like like-minded people is who you will meet everywhere. And it was just so beautiful, breathtaking, so many different hikes to do, so many different lagoons to go to. And I did the Takek Loop, which is a 5-day motorbike loop where you go around a loop in Laos and you get to visit so many different caves. And they were all so beautiful. And entrance was like $1 to $3 was the most expensive I paid. But then I have went to another cave when I was in Thailand and entrance was
Mhm.
$20 and it couldn't even compare, and it was so touristy. So I think it's just Thailand is so beautiful and yet it's so touristy that I think, and it just takes away from the experience. Also, it didn't feel as authentic because like, for example, a lot of people recommended Pai in Thailand for me, and I went to Pai and it was literally like I did a 10-day motorbike loop in northern Thailand,
Mhm.
and wherever I went, I was literally the only tourist the whole time. And then I got to Pai, and suddenly there were no locals, and it was just tourists. It felt like this fake town built only for tourists, and the locals didn't even exist. I couldn't even spot a local. It was crazy in the middle of nowhere. So Thailand has, I don't know, like I wouldn't say Thailand is overrated. It's not. There is just so much to do and see in Thailand. But I think if you're looking for a more low-key destination and if you're looking to not be hustled as much, to not be overwhelmed by the amount of tourism, and to not be consistently reminded by the negative effects of tourism, mass tourism, I'll say, then go to Laos. It was so beautiful. I did like, yeah, that loop, Pakek loop was so beautiful. So many different caves. I saw so many locals. It was so beautiful. And I did another loop as well called the Pakse loop. And that one was all about waterfalls. You literally chase waterfalls for 3 days in a motorbike loop. So beautiful. I couldn't emphasize, like, literally one waterfall was drastically different from another one, and the other one would be drastically different as well. You're literally driving 5 kilometers and then you're in a total different place. I loved it so much. I couldn't even emphasize. And down in the southern part of Laos, they have a bunch of islands that the locals live in, and you can go
Mhm.
and spend like a day or a week or two there. And I was supposed to spend 2 days there, and I ended up spending like a whole week. It was so beautiful. Islands are not, again, ruined by mass tourism. I loved it so much. It felt very authentic. I want to go back. Again, I was supposed to be in Laos for like 10 days. I was there for a month. It was
I
beautiful.
remember when you was out there in Laos. I remember you were,
Really beautiful.
yeah, out of all
See
the
it for
regions,
yourself.
yeah. I've seen pictures. I like how
Yes,
the mountains are like,
so cool. Like they look very similar to the ones in Vietnam too. It was like
yes,
the
yes,
perfect fusion of like Vietnam and Thailand. It
yeah,
was so beautiful.
yeah. I actually want to see them for myself one day, and get some pictures with them. The whole planet,
Yes.
whole globe. What's your favorite region?
That is hard to say because I
I
still have
know it.
not been from what I've seen so far, I think Southeast Asia. No, honestly, here's the thing. I love mountains. For those of you who don't know, this is a quick little fun fact would be Ethiopia actually has about 75% of Africa's mountains. So the whole country is full of mountains, my country. So that's where I feel the most at peace and the most at home. So when I go to different places around the world, I really value mountains and I really value trekking and just mountains in general. So so that's why my favorite region is going to be it's a very difficult question because I will say there's this town in northern Peru called Huaraz that was so breathtaking, so many beautiful mountains, so beautiful. But then down, if you go to Patagonia region, again, more mountains, so beautiful. And then the Himalayas, northern India, and if you go up to Nepal, that whole region of Pakistan, so beautiful. That's my favorite as well. So it's so
You've been to
difficult.
Pakistan?
I have not been to Pakistan, but I've been to India and northern India. Like if you go up to the disputed area of Kashmir, then
Uh-huh.
that's whole Himalayas is so beautiful.
So they share that's like kind of like close to Pakistan, that region?
They share the mountain range. The Himalayas are on the whole mountain range is shared between China, Nepal, India, and then Pakistan.
Wait, hold on. Are you saying the Himalayas?
Yes,
You saw the Himalayas?
it's so beautiful, and it's obviously one of my favorite regions in the world. But Patagonia
Word.
is also really beautiful, so it's really difficult to pick. Wherever there are mountains, it will be my favorite place.
How big are those mountains in the Himalayas?
So big to the point where I have no desire to climb them, and I'm really fascinated that people actually do climb them.
Are they bigger than the ones in Colorado?
Incomparable. Are you kidding?
What about the Alps?
I've not been to the Alps, but yes, way, way, way bigger. They're the biggest ones in the world. They're like, if you go to, they're
You gonna
all
have me
higher
looking
than
this shit up
8,000
right
meters.
now. I'm about to look this shit up right now. The Himalayas.
Yes, that's where, what? Like, that's where Everest is, and there's K2. And I did the trek to Annapurna Base Camp, and Annapurna is also around 8,000 meters.
Oh, I see what you're saying now.
All the highest mountains in the world, they're all in the Himalayas, majority of them, if not all 14 of them actually.
You was by yourself when you went here?
Yes, I actually did like a 7-day trek solo with no guide, no porter. It was really interesting.
Right here on making it look easy. Yo, I got the best travel in the game. Yo, how did you get into the did it just was you even thinking about it, or like when it came to content? Because
hmm
your content on social media is top tier and is very inspirational. I share it a lot because I love it. How did you get into that?
So much. Well, that was very nice to hear, but it was honestly not that big of, well, actually, I really enjoy editing videos and sharing them, but I didn't really know that people truly made money off of that and people took it professionally. So I didn't know any of that when I first started sharing. So when you met me in Egypt, I was actually sharing minute-long videos of like the recap of my trip, and I was not really taking it seriously. And I was posting. And one time I posted a really short clip of this really beautiful blue town, Chefchaouen in Morocco, and my post went viral. And I started getting lots and lots of followers. At that point, I think I gained like 7,000 followers. And in my head, I could not comprehend that amount of followers because I didn't know that people were gonna watch a random 5-second video and follow me.
Is it on Instagram?
Yes, it was on Instagram. The post went viral, and I don't know why. I was so shocked because it was just, a random video that I made. And that actually led me to be a bit insecure for a bit because all the videos that I used to share was for family and friends, and they were nothing serious. And suddenly, now that I have thousands of people in my head, like 7,000 people was a lot of people for me following me, I felt this need to present myself professionally and to make sure that the videos were again, like, perfectionism really came to me, and I was too insecure to post my silly videos, and it took me a while to get used to being okay with sharing what it is that I used to share, and, not feel pressured from the thousands of followers that I had at that time. It was a journey. It's still a journey. Sometimes I tend to criticize myself. Sometimes I wonder why people even follow me, because I'm just a random girl on the internet posting silly videos. But honestly, with more experience comes more, I guess I can make better videos now. I know the type of videos people like watching on the internet, so I can cater myself properly. So, like, I think I'm learning more about the business aspect of content creation. But other than that, nothing has changed. I'm just still sharing my experiences from traveling. I want the world to know that there are Black girls out there exploring differently, because my thing about travel is that the way travel has been marketed, especially to Black people, is so drastically different. They don't really encourage us to go out and climb mountains. They don't really encourage us to go diving or snorkeling. Usually, like, we're encouraged to go to, like, maybe the Bahamas and just go to, resorts. Like, the type of travel that has been catered to our community is so drastically different. And I want to make sure people see themselves in me. And I want to diversify the outdoors. I want people to know that there are Black girls out there hiking too, alone. Like, and it's okay. Like, like, don't feel so different, because we are doing it out there too. And I want people to be not motivated, but to be inspired to do the same thing for themselves, if that makes sense. And yeah, so I growing up in Ethiopia, I haven't really seen a lot of people who look like me, talk like me, doing the things that I'm doing. So I want to do that to other people. I want other people to know that this is feasible and attainable, and to go for their dreams, whatever it may be. Yeah.
I was able to share that because I mean it was a breath of fresh air to me. I remember when I can go back to the time when I met you. We was on the Red Sea, and it took a few days for that to actually like sink in, because I feel like I would consider myself to be a biblical scholar. So for me to be in the Red Sea, um, it was a feeling that I still deal with. And I never forget that first time um when we was out there, they was like, we're gonna go swim with the dolphins. And so I'm thinking like, all right, cool. We're gonna pull up, they gonna anchor the boat, there's gonna be some dolphins. And they was like, nah, dolphins, they coming right there. We're gonna loop the boat around and everybody gonna jump off while it's moving. Yeah, it's the only time I'm be able to do this. Jump off a boat. Yeah, like I could swim, but I was like, I ain't trying to risk it because I'm by
I
myself. I want a
know.
life jacket, and I had that GoPro. That video still, that's one of my favorite videos till this day. I never forget seeing them school of dolphins.
It's
And
so beautiful.
yeah,
I
they
can't
was
believe I
love
slept
it.
through that. So,
Oh, you slept through it?
yes, I slept through the whole thing. But thankfully, when I was in Indonesia, I had another chance to see dolphins, and I swam with dolphins finally after so long.
Was that your first time in Egypt?
Yes, it was my first time in Egypt.
What did you think about the pyramids?
Really beautiful, really cool. I have really been wanting to go to Egypt for such a long time. Egypt is so close to home for me, literally one country away. It's Ethiopia, then Sudan, then Egypt. So I've always wanted to go, but as you know, like, with an Ethiopian passport, it was impossible to go there because it requires visa, this and that, and it's just a lot of places, a lot of destinations you can't really go with an Ethiopian passport. It was such like a full life circle moment to move here to the US, get a US passport, and then be able to go back to Egypt to visit. And it was so rewarding because there are so many different temples in Egypt that I've wanted to visit, and I was able to see them in real life, and they're a lot more grand than I expected them to be, and they're so beautiful. And I think that has really, 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 like, inspired me to see more of the continent. Like, they are only two countries away from me, but their cultures and their traditions couldn't be so different and yet so similar to home, to Ethiopia. So,
Sudan also. Sudan also.
yes, Sudan
Yeah.
also. One thing people don't really realize about Egypt or Africa in general is that it is so diverse. Even within my country, we speak 85 different languages, and we have different cultures, and they're all so drastically different from each other. If you go to the southern part of Ethiopia, people don't even wear clothes. They look drastically different from me, and they speak a different language. They have different traditions, so different from me. And yet, like, the Western world tends to generalize the whole continent as the one place where, everyone just speaks and talk and just lives the exact same life. But that's not the reality. So I think seeing Egypt and then going to Morocco really has inspired me to see more of the continent and to share more of the continent and how diverse and how it's just we have everything, and yet we are not in this radar of places to visit. The only thing people visit our continent would be like safaris, and then there's Egypt, and then South Africa. That's about it. Like, there's really nothing else that people really visit within the continent, and yet we have one of the most beautiful beaches. We have really diverse, we're really diverse. We have different landscapes. There's a lot to do there. We have different cultures. There's a lot to learn from more people, and yet it just remains unexplored. And the continent also could really, really benefit from tourism. So it's my goal to go to every single country and visit to every single African country and see it for myself and share it with the world. So, I can hopefully inspire 10 more people to visit.
I think you're inspiring the people that's already traveling, so you're doing a great job for real.
Hopefully.
When do you plan on traveling out again?
I want to take a break for a month or two because I've been on the road for so long. I miss my bed, I miss my family. So I want to take a quick little break. Then I want to head out, hopefully to Central America or Central Asia. That is where I want to head next.
South America or Southeast Asia?
For solo travelers, Southeast Asia.
Okay.
I think it's a lot easier, especially if you don't really have much experience. Go with Southeast Asia because tourism is, it's just a lot easier to travel Southeast Asia. But if you speak Spanish or you want to learn Spanish, then that's what makes the whole Latin American continent so beautiful, because let's say you learn Spanish in Mexico, then you can really practice it all the way down to Argentina. So it's really a great way to travel and master a whole language. So that's a good opportunity.
Elshu, how can we support you? Because, we got you and we know what you're doing on TikTok and Ram, but like, what else? Because, like, all the game you got, what I'm saying, got to be sold, can't always be told.
Yes, I appreciate the thought. Honestly, I will soon start selling a book about budget travel. So if you're truly interested about learning how to budget travel, how to look for restaurants for cheap, how to look for flights for cheap, how to stay safe while traveling on a budget, or like just anything in general, like I will be putting everything I've learned from, over 4 years of solo travel and budget travel, and I'll be putting it on an ebook. So if you're interested in that, that will be one way. I will put the link in my bio by like the end of this week. And yeah, I don't know how else you can support me. You can follow my journey. I will really appreciate that, and share my journey. That'll be it.
Have all the information in the description of this video, so all the viewers will know how to find you and all that. I really do appreciate it. I've been looking forward for this conversation for a long time. I still got about like 20 or 30 different more questions because you've been to a lot of places. But we're gonna save it for the next time for sure.
For sure, for sure. Likewise. I really
For sure.
appreciate your time to interview me.
Yeah. No, thank you for taking the time for allowing me to do so, and also for the viewers. There's a lot of women out there who's trying to travel the world or who's hesitant, and so hopefully this conversation does help. You know, I I just appreciate it all. And if you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe and share. And even if you don't do none of them, if you've been here this long, I appreciate it. Um, for sure, for sure. We just trying to, you know what I'm saying, help that next person book that flight. All right, Elshu, I'm gonna holler at you. You have a good one.
Thank you so much. Have a
For
wonderful
sure.